This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
All right, let's get it going here on Diamond Conversations. Of course, every single week here on the Place to Be Nation podcasting network. If you didn't know by now, my name is Ian, and every single week we sit down here and we chat with somebody from the world of baseball. And this week it is no different, as we are thrilled to be joined by former Met, former Marlin, former Cardinal, the great Preston Wilson joining us tonight. Preston, thanks for coming on.
No problem. Thank you guys for having me. Or thank you for having me, I should say.
Well, it's me in the middle. We can't rule him out. He's the producer extraordinaire, Mr. Doug Barclay. He's just a blank screen in the middle. So don't mind him.
All right.
He's the fly on the wall, but he'll be chiming in. He's actually the best part of the show, if you can believe it or not. But it's so cool to have you on, man. I really appreciate you taking a couple of minutes. You know, we're very Met centric on Diamond Conversations. We try not to be. We try to be biased, and we try to give love to everybody across the major league landscape. But we are live and die with the New York Mets, and to think about you, and of course, again, thank you for coming. But think about you. I think about you being the first prospect that I remember following from the second you were drafted through your major league debut, May 7th, 1998, for those of us keeping track. And I just remember the whole entire build to your arrival. Now, the reason I bring this up first is because literally hot off the presses is the purchase of the New York Mets, looking like it has gone through, and Steve Cohen is buying the New York Mets from the Wilpon family, who has been there since 1980. So this is pretty historic that we have you on a day where it looks like the ownership, pending approval, of course, at the winter meetings, could be changing.
Yeah, it's amazing. I grew up with that franchise, the Mets franchise, and coming up, you had the Double Days, and then you had Cashin. Frank Cashin was the GM. You get the Wilpons coming in. It's been just like kind of like a timeline of my life watching what's happened with the Mets. So to see that team getting sold in new hands, I'm optimistic. I'm hoping they're going to do some things to get that team back in the eye of Major League Baseball the way it should be, because they had a good run in the 80s there. Of course, in '69, the amazing Mets. They had some great storylines from that, and I think the Mets. You got so much history there. You got Dwight Gooden, Willie Mays played for the Mets at one time. Strawberry, Keith. You got just names. Gary Carter. There's some great names attached to that. If you go even further back, you got Gil Hodges, Cleon Jones, Tommy Agee. Like, there's a history there that people need to be reminded of. And the one thing that I hope that this new ownership does is try to tie all that history in, because in baseball, there is a trend that has gone on in the last 20 or 30 years. Whenever there's a new owner come in some of these teams, they try to disconnect themselves from the old era of that franchise, the era of the franchise that had nothing to do with them. Maybe it's ego that you don't want, fans talking about things that happened before you came on the scene, whatever it is. If you look at some of the Mets greats, especially from those 80 years, you don't see many of them working in the organization.
No.
Howard Johnson went somewhere else. Tim Tuffle went to San Diego for a long time. Guys that you would think would be mainstays, whether it be minor league or major league coaches, or people that you just know from the team, are not there anymore. They're not with that. And when you look at teams like the Yankees, they don't separate themselves from their players. You look at teams like the Pirates, they don't separate themselves from the players in their former greatness. And that's something I hope that baseball takes a look at, because it's a way to kind of fuse generations together, to have the memories of those teams that were successful before the new owners came in, and not have the ownership feel like that's taken away from what they're doing or planning to do with the ball club. I mean, one of the biggest examples is when they brought black jerseys to the Mets. Come on, man. Like that's not the Mets. You remember those black jerseys?
I like them. I can't. I'm sorry, Preston. I love them. I wore them. I wore the hat like crazy. I got a big, gigantic starter jacket in the closet down the hall. I did love the black jersey.
That's a spring training jersey is what that is. Like, teams that have like a lineage, they're not, look at the Diamondbacks. They've changed, they got like 40 jerseys.
Yeah.
These teams like the Dodgers and the Red Sox, like it's a classic, iconic look. You don't need to mess with it too much. I can see maybe ditching the pinstripes on a couple, but just changing the whole color scheme. Black was never part of the Mets color scheme.
You missed the Snow White caps the year before you came to the big league squad. They had the Snow White Met caps, which again, I loved it. I thought it was great, but it was all white with the one little blue pin on the top. And I swear, if the wind blew, you got a piece of dirt on it, and you're like, well, now the hat's ruined.
I would like to amend your statement. I saw them. I did not miss them. I don't feel like I missed anything with that.
No, that's hilarious, and you're dead on about the history of the team, and it seems like the Wilpons kind of did alienate the '80s teams in the last few years, and you saw guys leave the organizations, and you look over at spring training for the Yankees, and Strawberry's there, and Gooden's there, and these guys that we want to see maybe come back for an old timers day. Well, they haven't done one since the mid '90s, so it stinks. It just stinks to see that. And maybe there's a change. Apparently Cohen is a longtime fan. Maybe we see some jerseys hanging, from the rafters that should be there. And I know there's a number 1 that should be hanging up there at some point too.
Well, you know what else you miss in that? You miss the instruction that goes on in the minor leagues. Teams that have prolonged success or sustained success have a system in place, and they have qualified people that are teaching guys in a way to make them big league ready. One of the biggest, and I know this is a name nobody knows, but one of the biggest things that I think hurt the Mets was a guy named Rich Miller being no longer involved in that minor league organization. He's one of the best, hands down, outfield instructors I've ever been around in my life. He's kind of like a nut about it, because I remember being in the outfield in the minor leagues in spring training, and you just hear this, like, hey, you look behind you, and it's Millsy behind the monster, like the big blue wall, the back to the batter's eye in center field, watching, making sure everybody's taking their ground balls, fly balls. Like, he was really detailed about it, but he also had a way of making your style work. I saw something a few years ago with the Mets where all the outfielders were fielding the ball the same way, like off the non-conventional leg. When you watch outfield play, you usually see the glove leg be the lead leg when you're fielding the ball.
Right.
And for some reason, there was a stretch of years where I saw everybody fielding the ball like Timo Perez or Larry Walker would do, which would be have your throwing leg first, and then you're kind of like bent down over at the waist more. That works for a couple guys. Alex Ochoa could do it. Timo Perez could do it. Larry Walker could do it, because your footwork has to be so quick, and you have to have a short arm. If you're going to field with your non-glove leg leading forward, you have to have a really short throwing motion. Like Timo, he came up like this. Alex Ochoa came up like that. A lot of guys have that long motion where they take it back. You don't know. Like, you don't have time, and you saw a lot of bad throws. You saw a lot of missed cutoff men. And I think one of the things when you're talking about teaching and growing an organization, you have to have people that don't put these guys in these cookie cutter type instructional situations. We're all built differently. And I really do believe that Rich Miller was one of the biggest losses that could have happened for the Mets. And what do you remember everybody talking about for a long time, how poor the outfield play was? Yeah. You can't build a team around a pitching staff. And you had DeGrom, Wheeler, Harvey, all those guys, those young guys. And you're saying we want this to be the center of our team approach is our pitching, and then have horrible defense behind them. Like, that puts so much pressure on those guys. You're better off having a mediocre offense and a great defense with good pitching. The Braves did it for decades. Like, when you think about the Braves, they were a good team, but it wasn't because they had all boppers. They had 1 or 2 guys in that lineup that would hurt you, maybe 3 if one of them was hot, and they played good, solid defense. You would play a series against the Braves, and it'd be 3-1, 2-1, 5-1. You'd have that one game where there was a lot of runs scored. The rest of it, they waited until you beat yourself. The Braves never beat yourself doing that run, and that's what the Mets lost. They had these great pitchers, but they were afraid to let the guys put the ball in play. All of them tried to be strikeout pitchers. Pitch counts blew up. Guys got tired. Guys were in situations where they're starting to pitch away from their strengths because they were trying to go for strikeouts instead of getting outs. And, I think when you build a team around pitching, you better have somebody back there to catch the ball, because if not, then you're going to have a bunch of guys that throw 97 and become nibblers. They're not going to be aggressive. They're going to try to trick guys instead of try to beat guys.
31 years he was with the Mets, and they let him go. And it's not like he retired. He just went on to another team. Yeah. So they let him go for nothing.
Yeah, like you can't lose that. Like a guy like that is worth his weight in gold. You know, he's seen every type of outfielder. He knows how to fix every type of outfielder. I mean, think about the outfielders that he worked with that I was there. He worked with Terrence Long. He worked with Jay Payton. He worked with me. Like, those are guys that went to the big leagues, stayed in the big leagues for a long time, and they played good defense. Jay Payton had a bad arm, but Rich Miller worked with him so much that people didn't even run on Jay because Jay got to the ball so quickly, and he was always in such a good position to get rid of the ball that the third base coach would just throw the hands up. Because they're like, well, he doesn't have a good arm, but he got to it so quickly, we're not taking that chance. And you got to have guys like that in your organization who are able to work with guys who may not be the perfect outfielder to get them to be a good outfielder. Michael Conforto would not have taken this long to develop an outfield if Rich Miller was there. Guaranteed.
Yeah. Brandon Nimmo was ranked the least defensive outfielder in baseball today. So not the greatest thing you want to be pegged to.
Well, I mean, but there's a lot of work that goes into it, and there's a lot of work that you really only get by being on the field. One of the things I see in baseball, and a lot of people think ex-players don't want to coach. That's not true. A lot of ex-players want to coach. A lot of ex-players are dying to work with kids. What ex-players don't want is they don't want to be in a situation where they can't coach. You know, you learn all of these things from playing, and no, it's not in a textbook. It's not something that you can just make a phone call and ask. You have to see these things and experience them, and then you just have this library of situations and ideas that when something comes up, right away you can fix it. And that's what Rich Miller had. That's what guys like Rusty Kuntz has. That's what guys like Dave McKay, even though Dave McKay didn't play, you know, as a third baseman, he worked so hard at learning all of those scenarios on outfield, he became a great outfield coach.
Right.
So the Mets need to have that. And the old players that play, like, they want to coach. Like, I know guys like Desi Rutherford, Dimitri Young, even though he wasn't a good defensive player, he's a high school coach right now. There's a lot of players that want to coach, but there's so many restrictions on what you can do nowadays. And working with these guys that it really turns a lot of guys off.
It's amazing to see, you know, the amount of non-baseball people that have taken baseball jobs. And that's not saying anything against them. I mean, you know, congratulations that you're able to land a position like that. But when I think of wanting to watch a player develop, or I think of watching a game, I want to see guys that have been there and done that. And, you know, the act like you've been there thing. Well, I want the guys that know what it's like to play in a pressure game, in a playoff, in a postseason, with your neck against the wall, and knowing that it's like. And it's a shame to see a lot of former players don't get that opportunity these days.
Yeah, I think with the way baseball has gone, the instruction that they're getting is not matching the pace at which they're going through the minor leagues. You know, I've heard some very just unfortunate things from guys who coach about not really being able to touch certain guys. I was actually asked to coach one time, and I told them straight up, I said, I got to be able to coach everybody. And they said, well, you know, there's going to be, I said, if you're asking me to come to your organization and coach, and I see something that I feel I can help it, I'm going to share that information. And they were like, well, that's not how it's done anymore. And I'm like, well, you know, I appreciate it, but I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I feel like I'm torn between helping kids and, you know, being loyal to an organization's wants. Because to me, coaching is all about getting that player better. I've seen situations where you see an organization say, look, this guy is a third round prospect. He's been drafted early. We know this kid has been playing really well. That's gotten drafted in like the 20th round or whatever. But, you know, we got to validate this pick. So let's make sure they'll basically have it where you cannot help that 20th pick guy get better than that third pick guy, because they want that third pick guy to get to the big league to validate that pick that they made and that money they invested. And that's only some organizations. All organizations don't do that. The Cardinals are great about that. Once you're a Cardinal in that minor league organization, it's a meritocracy. And that's one of the few places I can honestly say I've seen that. You can be a great player, and if you're not playing hard, if you're not following the rules, they'll get you out of there. That happened to Colby Rasmus. Colby Rasmus was first round pick with the Cardinals. I was in spring training, and he came late to a meeting one day. And it was, I mean, it can happen. Guys sleep in or miss. Everybody in that locker room knew he was not going to be a Cardinal for long. Everybody knew that's just not the way they operated. You have to be accountable. And once you're there, you're not going to get special treatment than the next guy because you guys are all in uniform. But some teams are definitely not like that.
We just heard about that from Mitch Harris, who pitched for the Cardinals a few years back. He said the same exact thing. They waited for him basically while he did military service, and he said almost exactly what you just did about the Cardinals organization. And that's telling if two former players from the same team can say that.
Yeah, and it's telling because it means that that it's not that prevalent around the league. You have friends that you talk to, you have people that you communicate with around the league inside baseball, and you hear their stories, and you know that it's not the same. You hear guys who might be the big prospects on one team, and they're able to pretty much get away with anything, and you see the lesser guys who may not have been drafted as highly, but are talented and hungry. All it takes is one misstep, and their path is made a lot more difficult.
So let's talk highly touted prospects, Mr. Number 1 draft pick in 1992. And I'm telling you, like I said, I remember it like it was yesterday, and hearing your name and seeing the baseball card and watching you go, through the box scores at that time and all the articles written. You make it through the minor leagues. You finally come up in May 1998, and you have a absolutely astronomical debut. I mean, it was a 3 for 4. The city was crowning you as the next, heir apparent to the Mets throne, and then boom, gone. The next week out of here. And I mean, yes, traded for a marquee player, a Hall of Famer, but still, we waited for you for 6 years, and you were gone in a week.
I gotta say, I was up there, and it was amazing because I grew up in Shea Stadium, first of all. I mean, in my mind's eye, I can still see me walking the concourse in Shea Stadium, and I know in my mind, I can still know where the concession stands were, where the bathrooms were, the Haagen-Dazs stand that was right there behind home plate, the memorabilia shop that was right across from that, the concession stand that was further down where you could get the conditions. Like, I remember all of that. Like, I grew up in that ballpark. And then to get called up after getting drafted by the Mets and have that same walk, like when you're coming from the bullpen area where the players park, that when I would be with my dad and we'd come into the stadium, or, when my mom and I would come to the game late, come to the game to meet my dad, and the game started, we're going through that, the walkway past the bullpen, like that whole walk. I then made that whole trek as a player. And I'm walking in and I'm seeing some of the same security guards. I'm seeing some of the same front office people. I'm seeing some of the same ushers. It was the craziest, most surreal thing you can imagine. And then to go through batting practice, which was an absolute blur. I don't even remember it. Seriously, like that. I remember like little bits and pieces, flashes of things from that day. And I remember Bobby saying to me, "Oh, I heard he asked me about how I was doing down there." Of course, he already knew the stats. Bobby Valentine talking about. So he's like, all right. Well, you're hot. So we're going to put you right in there. I was like, okay. I remember getting on the field, standing in that on-deck circle that I watched my dad stand in thousands of games, probably 1,000 games or so. And I look around and I'm looking at the colors of the seats. Shea Stadium had like the blue, the green, the orange. Like, I'm looking at the colors of the seats. I'm looking at that big scoreboard out there in right field that I looked at all the time watching Darryl Strawberry stand out there. I'm looking at center field, and they got the apple there. And I'm like, my dad stood in front of that thing for years playing center field. Then they got the bleachers out there in left field that they put in at the time. It was like the Pepsi Pavilion. And I'm like, I remember Kevin McReynolds and George Foster and, every guy. I'm like, I'm here. Like, I'm that guy now. I get in the box, and I'm surprised I wasn't vibrating out of the batter's box. I was so nervous when you first get up to the big league. Like, you think you're calm. Like, you tell yourself how cool you're playing it, but you're not. Like, you're trying to disguise, it's just another bat. Lies. That's not just another bat when you have that situation. And I remember, I think it was like a 2-strike pitch or something like that. I tapped it up the third base line. It may have gone 43 feet, max. I'm saying 43 feet. I beat it out down the line, And who else is there to greet me as the first base coach to congratulate me for my first big league hit? Is my dad.
Right.
Like that's
amazing.
just that's nuts. Like that's nuts. Like that's not supposed to happen. That's nuts. Yeah, great day.
That's baseball. That's what that is. That's it. The way you just set it up is baseball. And again, we had heard the stories, and you're going through Columbia and Norfolk and all these destinations through that Met minor league system at the time. And that 98 team went on to almost get there. It was this close to making that wild card. They made it interesting. They lost the last series in Atlanta, but nonetheless, that 98 team had something special about it, and you were a small part of that beginning half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I had a couple good games at first, and then I went 0 for 12 or something like that. But I will tell you, one of the downs in that whole deal, Al Leiter. I've known Al now for years. We've worked together at MLB Network a couple years ago. Played against him all the time because he was with the Mets for a while. I was in left field in Candlestick Park. And if you baseball fans know Candlestick Park, it is not the place you want to put a rookie outfielder. So I'm in Candlestick Park. There's just wind swirling. And I mean, there's trash just flying all across the outfield. You got napkins and stuff. And Al is pitching his butt off. I mean, pitching a great game. I had a couple plays here and there, but nothing major. I want to say it was late in the game, 6th or 7th inning, something like that. The wind picks up. I mean, it's just when you can feel your jersey flapping on you like that, the wind picks up. And I'm going, okay, because I work hard, okay. There was a ball. And I remember Ray O'Daniels was playing short. There was a ball that was hit off the bat. It was on this side of me. It was on my glove side. And it went up. And next thing you know, it just started going this way, and the ball ended up going back in behind third base. I broke this way, and then I keep my eye on the ball, and I realize it's changing course, and I'm like, oh my God, Al's gonna kill me. The ball drops, and I think a run scores, and I look on the mound, and I don't know if you know Al Leiter. He's so animated. Yeah. He's just he's just doing. I'm like, oh, sorry.
That's great.
He put me out here. Yeah. So there were some good moments and some bad. I always feel bad about that because I always prided myself on being a good outfielder, and part of that is due to Rich Miller. I started out as an infielder. I came out in high school. I was a shortstop. Played third base the first couple of years. They had Butch Husky and Edgardo Alfonso. Third base was going to be clogged for quite a while. So I ended up moving to the outfield, and really my career took off after that. And I owe, a lot of that too. I mean, my dad helped me in outfield as well, but Rich Miller was there pretty much every day in the minor leagues, helped me get through that. It was a good time. But I'll never forget. That was my worst moment of my whole big league first stint is not playing that ball. And honestly, I don't know if I could have caught it anyway. It's just that I took so much pride in my defense that I felt horrible for not being able to catch that ball.
Preston, it's Doug here. You talk so beautifully about playing at Shea for the Mets, seeing your dad there on first base. What was it like playing against the guys he played with? You went 1 for 3 off Jesse Orosco. 1 for 3, you hit a bomb off Rick Aguilera. Those guys knew you when you were, a small little guy. What was it like playing against those guys?
Weird, man. Really, really weird because, my dad and Rick Aguilera were pretty cool, but my dad and Jesse Orosco were so close. I mean, I me and his daughter used to hang out at the stadium together. My mom and his wife got together. Jesse Orosco, he was like an uncle to me. And to get a hit off of him felt really weird. It really did. It's I wanted to have success, and maybe he threw me a ball that I could hit. I don't know. Maybe he was feeling the same thing for me, but it was uncomfortable. It's like competing against family when it matters. It's not like a backyard. It's like competing against family when there's a check on the line. And I honestly, I understand why Peyton Manning and Eli Manning did not want to be in the same conference. Like, I get that. Like, that makes total sense to me. When you care about someone so much and your success means their failure.
And one guy, looking at your stats before we talked, somehow you never faced Gooden.
Thank God. Like, he was another. Yeah, like, I love Doc. I do. Like, I love Doc. Every now and then I message him like that's who I tried to pitch like when I pitched in high school was Doc Gooden. Had the big leg kick and a little like drop right before the leg. I tried to be Doc Gooden when I pitched in high school. But yeah, I would not have wanted to face Doc, man. Like, I love Doc too much. I would not have wanted to face him. Yeah, didn't want that. No.
We were trying to find everything, interleague, maybe spring training, something, but you never got in a box with Dr. K. But so, all right, so you debut May 7th. So May 22nd, you're traded with a couple other minor league teammates to the Marlins for Mike Piazza. So who gives you the phone call, and does your dad, kind of grab you before you're walking out the front door?
Well, first of all, they didn't even tell my dad because I was.
Oh, wow.
You know how every team has a few guys that are untouchables. Like, they're like, you can't give us enough to ask for this guy. Well, when Mike Piazza pops up, everybody's available. So they made that deal really when they didn't even tell my dad. And I think that still bothers him to this day because, I mean, it's not like he was going to say anything like stop the deal. But, he's in the Mets Hall of Fame. He was in the Mets organization, and they didn't even do him the courtesy to tell him that his son was getting traded before everybody else in the world did, which I thought was kind of, I didn't really, that's kind of crappy. But yeah, it's, I remember being in the hotel, and the crazy thing is I was playing for Norfolk. We were in Charlotte playing against the Marlins. So I played the first game of that minor league series for the Mets against Charlotte. I played the last 2 games of that series for Charlotte against the Mets. And I think I hit like 2 or 3 home runs in those 2 days. Yeah. I made the Mets pay ever since then. Out of my first 100 major league home runs, I think 19 of them were against the Mets.
And that's what I remember too, is that when you left and came back, it was like payback time, and it was a hurting every time you came back to Shea, or every time the Mets played the Marlins down in Miami. I mean, it was scary. So did you have that kind of eye of the tiger whenever you faced them?
You know what? It wasn't anything personal. I just think I felt like home. Like it's like I felt like Shea Stadium was where I was supposed to be. I really did. And that's not an arrogant thing saying like I felt like I earned the right. No, it just felt like home to me. Like I felt like I knew every inch of that stadium. Like I used to go into the commissary where the vendors used to eat and like go get food there. Like I know that stadium knew that like the back of my hand. Like I could tell you every back way to go up and down. It just felt like home. And I always felt like I understood their philosophy, because when you grow up in an organization, I literally grew up as a kid watching the organization and grew up as a minor league player in the organization. You have a feel for certain things. You have a feel for what they're trying to do, their philosophy, what they're trying to, how they're trying to attack you. And I knew they knew me. So if I know my weaknesses, I know they know them as well. So I kind of knew what they were going to try to do.
Right. That
Preston,
makes perfect sense.
Right now, and I can confirm that you have more hits against the Mets than any other team. You have more home runs against the Mets than any other team. You have more RBIs in your career against the Mets than any other team. I mean, 23 home runs, 61 RBIs, 277 average, 89 hits. That's a pretty good career to go home.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take that. Yeah. I'll take that. Yeah, it's, I love playing there, though. I love playing in Shea. I loved everything about it. I mean, I still have like this nostalgia for Shea Stadium, and it wasn't a great stadium by any means. Let's be honest. Like these new ballparks blow it away. The outfield was lumpy. It blew it away. But yeah, I love Shea Stadium, and it's just something about it that always felt good. And maybe it's the connection I have with my dad being in that ballpark. It was just something where it just always seemed to work out. Yeah.
Yeah. Funny little connection here too, is that, we were there in the building the day that your dad was inducted into the Mets Hall of Fame. So
really?
we were there. We saw you, but then even a funnier little tidbit is our uncle was at a gaming event in Brooklyn in 1984, 1985, for your dad, and you were there, and he remembers them talking about you as a kid and how you were a great ball player. So it's just kind of funny how tied you really were to the Mets, franchise. And we knew, that's what I'm saying, we knew you were coming.
The amazing thing is I meet a lot of people who didn't even know that I was going to be a player, but then when they heard that I was in the big leagues, they're like, that's that kid that I saw at the banquet that your dad was at. And so because my dad would go around and do speaking engagements and go to these, different things that the Mets would have their players get invited to. And I would, kind of like my dad's co-pilot, I would go along with him and sit there and try to behave while he's giving his speech or accepting whatever award or whatever. So yeah, like that part of the fabric of New York, I'm woven into it because of my dad. Yeah. So it's there's a really deep, rich history with the Wilson family and the Mets. It was a lot of fun to grow up through it.
Now, did you grow up in Jersey? Because that was another thing we always heard, that you guys lived in the general area where we lived. So did you grow up in New Jersey?
Yeah. Lakewood, New Jersey was where we lived. My dad would take that hour. It was anywhere between an hour to hour, 15-minute ride home every night, which to him, he said he liked it because he got to wind down and let the game kind of wash away. And by the time he was home, it was gone, which I honestly, I think that's an amazing idea. I don't like driving very long nowadays, so I don't know if I would commute an hour a day for work, but I get it. But yeah, Lakewood, New Jersey, man, it had that drive with taking the BQE, go across the Verrazano Bridge, get on Route 9 and head on south most nights. Every now and then we took the Garden State Parkway.
I can't say I'd want to drive from Lakewood to Shea. That's just me. We lived a little bit north of that. So I can't say I'd want to do that every day. But to go to Shea, I definitely would. Now, let's not discount the fact, yes, you had a great major league career. And we spent all the time on the Mets. And before we head into the wrap-up portion, I just want to touch on one thing about the Marlins and how you were such a piece for the Marlins, but you bookended the championship in 97, and then you came in 98, and then they win in 2003. You left in the previous season. So you were just missing both sides of the championship spectrum, but were a part of that building thing. Did you see where the team was headed and then literally dismantled after the championship?
Well, I think first thing you got to do is realize that you're part of the problem. I'm like, maybe I'm in these guys' way. Nah, honestly, it was, I was very fortunate. I got my first taste in the big leagues with the Mets because Edgardo Alfonso got hurt. Then when I went to the Marlins, they started selling off players. I played well that year in the minor leagues. Was still kind of behind their prospects because when you come to a new organization, you're kind of like the adopted child. So you really have to prove yourself above and beyond. And there were a couple guys like John Roscos was ahead. Not John Roscos. Todd Dunwoody was their main outfield prospect that was ahead of me. They had guys like Brian Dahlbeck in that organization. John Roscos was in that organization. And I got a break. I was able to get there and play. And then once I started, had a few years there, you could tell that we were getting close. Like, I saw the team being close. Cliff Floyd, Derek Lee. Derek Lee has become Derek Lee. Derek Lee had a couple years where he struggled a little bit. He even got sent down to the minor leagues one year, came back strong. Mike Lowell, Luis Castillo, Alex Gonzalez, Mark Kotze, Kevin Millar off the bench. There was just a really good core that was there with that team, and we're going to be good. They ended up getting Pudge when Charles Johnson and I went to Colorado, and Juan Pierre was also in that exchange. And Mike Hampton, people forget that Mike Hampton was really. And
I actually forgot that too until I saw it.
Yeah, Mike Hampton was the big piece of that deal. So, it really, I think it was a great move for both. I think it allowed me to, go to a different team and kind of get a fresh start. I had like a lot of stuff going on. Like I had an injury. Like that year, I had a son that was born premature and died. Like the year before that, I went through a divorce. So like there was a lot of things that were just kind of really murky for me at that time. And I think it was great for both. I got a fresh start. I got to go clear my head go to a different place, get some fresh eyes on myself and life. And the Marlins were another year more mature, and they got the job done. And I remember being in Colorado after the season, and I went on the Best Damn Sports Show. I don't know if anybody remembers that show.
Oh, great show! I missed that show.
Yeah.
That was a great one.
I went on the Best Damn Sports Show. I guest appearance out there for like a week, and I told everybody, I said Marlins were going to win that World Series in 6 games, and they did. Like, I was still cheering for them. Like, there was no bitterness. There was no animosity. Like, I still love those guys. Like, some of my friends that I still talk to are from my Marlins days. Like, we all cut our teeth and we all suffered together. When you start off a season and the news from your franchise is that you're not getting a new stadium on opening day, that kind of puts like you're not getting a stadium. Like, it's opening day. Let's go. You guys aren't getting a stadium. Well, all right. That's great. We're going to still play though. we're going to still try. I promise. Yeah. So we struggled together, but it was good. It was good.
A lot of people don't remember also that 02 Marlins team. Tim Raines is his last season playing, and he played almost 100 games for that team. Yeah. So there was always something. The Marlins were always pesky, and where you could see everybody was getting better, and then you go to Colorado, and you explode. You're the RBI machine, and you have that career year. So before we get into the wrap up, and again, I said we were going to be Met centric. I wasn't lying. But talk about going to Colorado. Obviously, a hitter's dream. What was your favorite part about playing in there?
My favorite part about playing in there was having 2 guys that were incredible hitting around me. When I first went to Colorado, I had to prove myself. I had to prove where I fit in. So I was hitting 5th. I think it was a walk. Todd Hilton would hit 3rd. Walker would hit 4th. I hit 5th. Then I got off to a good start, and they switched it up to go right, left, right. Left, right, left with Hilton, me, and Walker. And that's what changed my career. You can say what you want, but when you're hitting behind Todd Hilton and you're hitting in front of Larry Walker, you're going to be the guy that gets pitches to hit. So, when you're an aggressive swinger and you got power and, you're starting to learn yourself a little bit, that's just a recipe for a great year.
Yeah, unbelievable. And it's, again, what we saw in the writings all those years, that this is what you were going to do. And just so everybody has a little bit of context, I had the stats up here. Of course, I clicked off of it for 2 seconds. But 36 home runs, 141 RBIs. That is that's unbelievable. And it finally, it clicked there in Colorado. Now, again, we're going to head to the wrap-up, and I don't want to take up any more of your night as we chronicle your career. But Doug steps in here now to give you some Preston Wilson trivia. So we're going to see what we got here and see if you can remember your career as well as we do.
I'm telling you right now, I really usually don't.
Preston, normally when I talk to hitters, I start with I want to know if you know who you struck out against the most. And before you answer, I will say that most of the time the guy hits like 150 or 200 against the person. You hit 296 off the person that struck you out more than anyone in your career. You know who it is?
Got to be Randy Johnson.
Randy Johnson.
Very good.
Can you talk about faces?
Because I do it. It was one of those things where I felt like I had nothing to lose. I'm facing a Hall of Famer that's still throwing 97. He's supposed to get me out. So, and I struck out. I produced runs. I hit for power, but I was swing and miss guy at times. So he was supposed to get me out. So I just tried to be aggressive. I tried to feel like I wanted to work on one side of the plate, which was for him. I didn't want the ball in, because if I look for the ball in, that slider in is going to eat you alive. So I tried to just divide the plate and get him to work on the other half, on the outside half, because the one thing he did not have was good movement on his arm side. He threw so hard that he didn't really have that tailing motion that most lefties have. His ball was kind of flat on his arm side. So if you were focused out there, you had a chance, and just try to stay off the ball up. That was really my approach against him. Right? I knew he was better than me on pretty much any given day, so I felt like I had nothing to lose.
Now, on the flip side of things, you have your most career home runs and your most career hits off the same pitcher. Do you know who that is? 4 home runs, 11 RBIs, 302 average.
I do know this one. I think I do know this one. Kevin Millwood.
It's Kevin Millwood.
Wow.
So I had 2 options. I was going to say Steve Traxel, or Kevin Millwood, but I remember really having some good days off of Millwood.
You had some good days off Steve Traxel too. One other person that kind of sticks out, you hit 706, 12 for 17, 3 doubles, a home run, 7 RBIs, and 3 walks against Byung-Young Kim.
I know. It's the craziest thing. Like, I remember at one point I was at like 800. I remember my first couple games facing him, and I'm like, I feel terrible against this guy. But I think I went 2 for 4 with a home run in the pool in Arizona the first time I faced him, I think. And I'm like, just okay. Then I faced him again. I had like a 15 hopper up the middle that goes for a knock and like a jam shot. So it was one of those guys that even when I didn't hit the ball hard, I got hits off of him. And it was, and I love BK. Like, he was a pitcher on our team in Colorado for a while, and he, nicest guy ever. I felt like he really got a raw deal by how a lot of people treated him. I felt like that was really unfair. Maybe it was a cultural thing. But I felt like people really kind of like got on him a lot and gave him a lot of gruff that other guys would not have gotten. But yeah, I mean, he's a guy that, looking back at my career, like I'm glad I had the success I had off of him, but something about the way he was treated in baseball didn't feel right to me. Yeah. What else you got?
What else? Is that it, Doug? Any more trivia?
I got more. Now, probably my favorite stat looking up, going through your career, and I remember, your 99 season, you come in second in the Rookie of the Year vote. Pretty close. There is an argument that can be made that you should have won. But Scott Williamson, you go 3 for 7 with 429 average off the guy who did win Rookie of the Year that year, going 1 for 2 off him that year. Do you remember anything about that race? Do you feel you could be the Rookie of the Year?
I remember that Cincinnati was in the playoff hunt and they made the playoffs, and I think that's why he won. I mean, you get a rookie outfielder or rookie player during that time that's playing every day. I mean, that year I didn't get the everyday job until May something, I think, because I remember there was a road trip where we played against the Dodgers, and I hit a pinch hit home run off of Channel Park, and that was, from that moment, the job was mine. And to have 20-something home runs, 80 RBI or something like that in a season for a rookie outfielder who's playing center field, that gets you Rookie of the Year. I won Players' Choice Rookie of the Year. So I won when the players voted, I won Rookie of the Year. But that's how the baseball goes. And, if you're a contending team, and not that he did, he had a great year. Scott Williamson had a great year for Cincinnati. That's how it went.
It's unbelievable. 26 homers, 71 RBIs, hit 280, swiped 11 bags. I mean, that's pretty for a rookie. You can't ask for more. So
that usually gets you Rookie of the Year.
That's pretty. Yeah. Any other season, you're grabbing it. But yeah, second place in 99. But that's unbelievable. So we'll head to the wrap up here. Look, this has been a thrill, and it's been a lot of fun. And I appreciate you walking back down memory lane. But why don't you tell the fine folks and the listeners of Diamond Conversations what you got going on these days and what you're up to?
Oh, right now, man, I am full-time dad mode. I was working with MLB 2018, and I was also I did a little pre and post game work for the Astros. At the time I had a 16-year-old daughter, and I had my daughter now. So one is 17, one is 5. Dad had to come home, kind of tighten up the house a little bit. My last year my 17-year-old daughter moved in with me full time, and my 5-year-old is running around here, so I took some time off away from pretty much everything that I was doing consistently. So right now, man, I'm full-time dad. I'm probably looking to get back into broadcasting. Like I was at MLB, and for years I worked at a Fox Sports Florida, pregame, postgame. I also, did a lot of in-game work for them as well. So maybe next year I'm hoping to get back into it. But I had to get baby girl back in line, and now she's going to be off to college in the spring, and everything worked out great. And so hopefully, if you don't see me at one of her college, whatever she's doing, going on to great things, hopefully you see me back in a booth or on a mic somewhere talking about baseball again in the future.
Oh, that's fantastic. And hopefully coming back, because we still got stuff to talk about. We're not done with you by any stretch. But I got to say this before we say goodbye. And we talk about the 86 Mets. They're amazing. They're this or that. Did you love the Let's Go Mets song from '86? I mean, your dad was lip syncing it like everybody else was. Did you love the Let's Go Mets music video?
Joe Piscopo.
That is the Super Bowl shuffle of our, like, it was not good. Like, the Super Bowl shuffle was at least, it was like, let's go. Oh my God. Like, there's some things that you just hope you never see again. I mean, I love my dad with all my heart, but man, good gracious, they tried. They really did try.
I should have gone out on a high note, man, because we love it in our household. It's pretty much monthly listening around here.
Still a little bit better than get mesmerized.
That's called masochism, is what that's called, sir. But on another note, I would like to say to all the Mets out there, we did lose the amazing Al Jackson recently, and
Yes.
if you're a Met fan, you know what he meant to that organization from back in the '60s, all the way up through when I was drafted in the '90s. He was a pitching coordinator down there in spring training. An amazing man. Just his ability to communicate with anyone was amazing. One of the sweetest people I've ever met in my life. So if you're a Mets fan, that's a name you need to know and keep in your mind and understand the greatness and the things that he did to contribute to that organization.
Not only an original Met, but came back in '69, and he was there, and then literally a fixture of the organization up until through the 2000 team that made the World Series. So that's a great way to say goodbye. So please, also share social media where the fine folks can find you.
Oh, at Preston Wilson 44 on Twitter and PJRW4 on Instagram. Yes.
Perfect. And if you want to follow me, it's at Chad E&B. If you want to follow the producer extraordinaire, Doug, it's at Doug Barclay 17. This was pretty much, I'm not going to lie, this is my favorite Diamond Conversations so far. So for everybody in attendance here today, we will catch you next time. Have a great one.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Place to Be Nation's JT Rosero and Chad Campbell here. We want to let you know that we have over 24 podcasts available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and PlaceToBeNation.com. We now offer them to you on two great feeds. On the Place to Be Nation Wrestling feed, we dive into topics running the gamut from today's WWE to the glory days of yesteryear and the ins and outs of the territory days. In addition to our full-length shows, we also deliver to you special pod blasts on topics old and new.
The Place to Be Nation Pop feed is a veritable treasure trove of great content. Offer tremendous shows covering the land of movies, television, life, comics, and sports, brought to you by the most knowledgeable and insightful folks in the podcast world.
You can find all these great shows, plus archives of our past podcasts from over the past 8 years as well by subscribing to both feeds on iTunes. And while you're there, be sure to rate and leave feedback as well. All of these shows, plus others, available on PlaceToBeNation.com, where we cover pro wrestling, sports, movies, comics, plus in-depth search projects, and much more. Be sure to support our site by using www.PlaceToBeNation.com/Amazon when doing your online shopping. We want to thank our friends at Boneheads Wing Bar, ProWrestlingOnly.com, and TheHistoryOfWrestling.com as well. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr. PlaceToBeNation.com, the only place to be in your pop